Hey everyone, and welcome back to A Smarter Way to Retire. This is Tony Leonardi, your certified financial planner professional from Newtown, Connecticut, back with another episode of A Smarter Way to Retire, because there really is a smarter way to retire. This is actually our third episode dealing with required minimum distributions, because there is just so much to cover for those interested in a smarter retirement. Last week we covered RMD fundamentals, what they are, when they start, how to calculate them, and the 7 most common and most expensive mistakes that people make. If you missed it, go back and review last week's episode first before watching or listening to this one. I'll add a link to the YouTube video in the description below. Today, 6 strategies that could help potentially save you tens or sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in lifetime taxes if implemented intelligently, and that's the key. Some of these strategies we've talked about in prior episodes, but they're so good that they're worth repeating. Some of these strategies will be brand new for most of you, and I think you will really enjoy them. Here they are. Number 1, QCDs, qualified charitable distributions. It's the number 1 charitable tool in retirement. 2, the new age 75 Roth conversion super window. Number 3, fill in the bracket conversions before RMDs hits. Number 4, smart timing of RMD withdrawals around market moves. Number 5, turning unwanted RMDs into tax-free, potentially multi-generational wealth legacies. How does that sound? Pretty good. And finally, number 6, net unrealized appreciation, NUA, for those who own company stock in their retirement plan. We haven't touched on this one yet, but it's super important. If you have company stock in your retirement plan, you want to pay attention to strategy number 6. First, we're going to look at qualified charitable distributions, QCDs. If you're 70 and a half or older and give to charity, stop writing checks from your bank account or giving cash. Use a QCD instead. Up to $108,000 per person in 2025, straight from your IRA into your charity 501c3. And why do I say this? Why is this a magic strategy? Well, let's zoom in on why QCDs are hands down the most powerful charitable tool once you hit 70 and a half. There are 3 huge benefits most people miss. Benefit number 1, it can satisfy your entire RMD for the year if you want it to, because you can send up to $108,000 directly from your IRA to a charity, and the IRS says, terrific, your RMD box is checked. Got that done for the year. No matter how big your required minimum distribution is, 1 or 2 QCDs, husband and wife, can easily wipe out that RMD completely. Again, if you wanted to, if you don't need the money, and if you're charitable. Benefit 2, the money literally never shows up as income. A normal RMD lands on line 4B of your 1040, it's taxable. A QCD lands on line 4A, but the taxable amount on 4B stays 0. That one line on your tax return is pure magic because, 1, it lowers your Medicare IRMA surcharges. That, let's say, $20,000 QCD can keep a couple out of the next IRMA tier and save up to $8,000 a year in Part B and Part D Medicare premiums. Next, the amount of Social Security that gets taxed up to 85% is reduced by a QCD in many cases. Often RMDs push people into higher tax brackets, meaning you're volunteering more for Uncle Sam to spend on those shrimp on treadmills. You don't want to do that. Also, state tax. Here in Connecticut, for state income tax, QCDs are fully exempt. Check with your state to see if that's true in your state as well. The next benefit is you get the tax break even if you take the standard deduction. So since 2018, when the standard deduction was increased, very few retirees itemize anymore. So if you write a check to charity from your bank account, you don't get a tax benefit. You get zero extra tax benefit if you don't itemize. With a QCD, you get the full tax reducing power without itemizing a single dime. Technically true for the 90+% of retirees who no longer itemize because of the higher standard deduction. That's pretty powerful. So here's an example of a real couple that I work with. We'll call them Bob and Mary. They're both 76. They have combined RMDs this year of $72,000. They were giving roughly $20,000 a year to their church and alma mater, the old-fashioned way, checks from their joint checking account. We switched them to QCDs a few years ago, and here's the result in year one. Their taxable income dropped by $20,000. They fell back under the IRMA cliff. Their Medicare premiums dropped $4,800 for the two of them. And they still gave the exact same amount, $20,000, to the causes that they love and they care about. So that's found money, literally thousands of dollars every single year for the rest of their lives. Very powerful. One last pro tip, do the QCD as early in the year as you want. January, February, March. I have clients who write one big QCD check every January and they're done worrying about RMDs for the next 12 months. It's simple, clean, and massively tax efficient. Remember, you don't have to give your entire RMD amount to charity. Even a portion of that will help reduce your taxes. I have clients who do QCDs where they can lower their RMD each month by several $100s to offset the QCDs. Or in some cases, we skip the last few months of automatic RMD distributions at the end of the year. This is a great strategy for those that don't need all of their RMD to pay your bills. Strategy number 2 is the new age 75 Roth conversion window. Your 2.0 Act moved the RMD age up to 75 for anyone born after 1960 or later. So they just handed millions of people an extra 2 full years of zero forced withdrawals from their retirement plans. Translation, you now have a much longer conversion window sweet spot up to age 75. So if you do a Roth conversion at today's 12% or 22% bracket, instead of tomorrow's 24 or 32% bracket, or even higher, that amounts to a huge tax savings over your lifetime. That means a 62-year-old today, let's call her Sarah, has a 13-year window where the IRS can't force a single dollar out of her traditional accounts. Sarah and her husband have about $2.8 million in IRAs and old 401ks right now. Without planning, when she hits 75, her RMDs are projected to be conservatively $165,000 a year, maybe more depending on how those accounts grow over the next 13 years. Either way, that's enough to push them from the 22% bracket into at least the 24 and potentially the 32% bracket, adding thousands in Medicare surcharges every year and additional income taxes. Instead, we're converting about $82,000 a year right now, the exact amount that fills the top of today's 22% bracket for them after considering their other income. They pay roughly $18,000 in tax each year on the conversion, but every dollar moved to the Roth grows tax-free forever and will never have an RMD in their lifetime. Our model shows that the simple move that we're making saves them at least $118,000 in lifetime taxes, maybe more. And it gives them 13 beautiful years to get it done at today's lower rates. Really incredible strategy for some of the younger listeners out there today. Strategy number 3, fill the bracket conversions. I'm a big pizza fan, so this following analogy makes delicious sense to me. Think of your current tax bracket like a pizza slice that the IRS is letting you eat at today's lower prices. Everything above that slice gets taxed at tomorrow's higher rates when RMDs start. We run the model, we find the exact dollar amount that tops off your current bracket, and convert exactly that amount every year. If we look at my client David, who's age 68 today, born in 1957, he still has the old RMD age of 73, which means his first RMD is due just 4 short years from now. Whether you have 4 years or 13 years left, the strategy is the same. Fill today's lower bracket before RMDs push you into higher brackets. It's the single highest ROI move that most pre-retirees can make. But you have to find that low tax bracket window opportunity and compare that to future potential high bracket years. What I'm saying is that you need a good financial model to pull this off intelligently. Remember, we're shooting for a smarter retirement. If you haven't yet run your Roth conversion calculations, let me know. I'd be happy to help you out. Strategy 4, smart RMD timing around market moves. Your RMD dollar amount is locked in on December 31st of the prior year for the entire next year. But you can take it anytime throughout the year. I'm normally not a big fan of trying to time the market because it's very difficult to do. No one has a perfect crystal ball when it comes to market timing. With that said, let's look at this rule of thumb. Take your RMD when share prices are high, when the market is high, not when it's low or when it's in a correction. You have the same dollar amount of RMD, but when the market's high, you can make that withdrawal by selling fewer shares when the market is up, which means more shares remain in your account to continue to grow. Let's look at March 2020 as a real story. Everyone, I'm sure out there, remembers the big market correction in 2020. I certainly do. A client's aggressive account was down 34% at the bottom of the correction. If she took her $40,000 RMD in March, she would have sold 50% more shares to net the same RMD amount. She waited until December when the market recovered and sold 30 to 35% fewer shares. So she kept way more shares compounding for the rest of her life in her account. Again, timing is difficult, but in a situation like this saved her a lot of money over her lifetime. She was actually very fortunate that the timing worked out for her in this case. It doesn't always work out for you if you delay. We've had a few big market corrections, 2020, the COVID crash. If you don't need to take distributions or if you don't need the money right away, it is a good idea not to take distributions or to turn off your automatic distributions when the market is down. Just some food for thought. Strategy number 5. Turn unwanted RMDs into tax-free, potentially multi-generational wealth legacy. Pay close attention to this one because it's one of the most powerful and underutilized family wealth strategies available today. For people who don't need the RMD because they have plenty of other income and they want to leave the maximum to their kids or their grandkids, here is one of my favorite strategies. Turn your unwanted RMDs into a tax-free legacy machine using, ready for this, permanent life insurance. Now don't freak out, let me explain. Here's how it works and why it's so very good. You take the RMD, you pay the tax. You put the net amount after tax, let's say it's $50,000 a year, into a properly designed whole life or indexed universal life policy, a permanent life insurance policy. The death benefit is 100% income tax free to your heirs, unlike that inherited traditional IRA where you have the money now. There's no 10-year emptying rule. If you leave a traditional or Roth IRA to a non-spouse heir, meaning your kids or grandkids, they generally have to drain that account within 10 years and pay tax on every dollar of a traditional IRA or lose the tax-free growth on a Roth IRA. Often, these distributions over that 10-year period push your kids into higher tax brackets, creating a bigger tax problem for them. Now, life insurance proceeds have zero forced withdrawal schedule. Unlike IRAs, heirs can invest the money, keep the money growing, and take it whenever they want it, whenever they need it, for the rest of their lives, when it makes the most sense for them based on their tax and financial situations, not based on when the IRS wants it. Also, life insurance is creditor protected, especially here in Connecticut. Check with your local state. Cash values and death benefits are generally shielded from lawsuits and creditors if handled properly. Something an inherited IRA and the cash coming out of that, forced out over that 10-year period, might not be. Life insurance also skips probate, and there's no estate tax inclusion if structured properly, meaning this strategy could lower your estate tax if you have one, if set up in an irrevocable life insurance trust, an ILITS. Warning, you don't get all of these benefits automatically. You have to structure your estate plan properly. It's not super difficult. You just need the right words on paper. So talk to me or your estate planning attorney to make sure you're following the rules correctly. And watch that legacy wealth machine work for you and your family. Amazing. Here's a real example I just finished up with. I have a client age 72, $90,000 of RMDs that he doesn't need. We take the RMD, pay the taxes, around $20,000, leaving $70,000 over after taxes to use as a life insurance premium. At life expectancy, the death benefit is projected to be $2.9 million, all income tax free. No 10-year rule, creditor protected, and bypasses probate. That's turning a tax bill into a multi-million-dollar gift that keeps growing for the next generation, or maybe multiple generations. This is not for everyone. You have to be healthy enough to qualify for the insurance and comfortable enough locking up the money. But for the right family, it's one of the biggest legacy accelerants available. People tend to have a knee-jerk reaction when they hear the words life insurance, but used properly, life insurance could be one of the greatest family wealth creators ever. Don't sleep on the benefits of life insurance. If you don't need your RMDs and you better yet, you love your kids and grandkids and you want to do something amazing for them, let me know. We can take a look at this strategy for you and see how the numbers work. Strategy number 6 is net unrealized appreciation, NUA. Has anyone out there ever heard of NUA? Not NWA, that's a rap group. NUA, net unrealized appreciation. Here you go. If you have highly appreciated company stock in your retirement plan, do not roll it into an IRA. Again, do not roll it into an IRA. Talk to me first. What you want to do is distribute the shares in kinds into a taxable brokerage account. You pay ordinary income tax only on your original cost basis, which is often quite small. All the growth is taxed later on at long-term capital gains rates, 0, 15, or 20%, depending on where you fall, not at income tax rates. Here's a real case. I have a client who worked for years for IBM and held IBM stock in their 401k. Let's say most of it they bought early on at $18 a share back in the 1990s. Today, with IBM trading at around $280, that's $270 roughly of growth per share. If they rolled that whole thing into an IRA, every dollar of that $270 gain per share would eventually be taxed at ordinary income rates, up to 37% when RMDs kick in. Instead, we used NUA, net unrealized appreciation. We distributed the IBM shares in kind to a taxable brokerage account. Paid the ordinary income tax only on the original $18 cost basis. The $270 per share gain gets taxed later at long-term capital gains rates, not at income tax rates. So for, let's say, a $10,000 share holding, $18 a share, that's a cost basis of $180,000. Taxed at ordinary income rates, let's say 24%, that's $43,000 plus in taxes to pay now. Not ideal, but not bad compared to the alternative. $2.7 million of gain will be taxed later on at capital gains rates. Let's say 15%. That's about $400 and $5,000 in tax on the gain. Plus the income tax we paid earlier, we're at about $450,000 in tax on this strategy. Again, not ideal. Compare that to over $1 million in ordinary income tax if they rolled that stock into their IRA and had to pay it out through their RMDs later on in life. So the tax savings here is over $550,000 saved on this one strategy. That's why I often say that with a few simple ideas implemented intelligently, we can literally save you tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Powerful stuff that a lot of people miss. Remember, we're retiring smarter. NUA may help turn a company stock windfall into a massive tax break, but you must do it before rolling all that stock into your IRA. If you have appreciated stock in a 401k, let's talk. Don't miss this opportunity, because once you roll over your 401k, you can't undo it. If you have company stock in your 401k, let me know. So here's your action plan, a checklist of things to do before December 31st. If you're charitable, look at setting up QCDs now. Even one $5,000 QCD can save hundreds of dollars in taxes. If you're born 1960 or later, start modeling Roth conversions to top off your tax brackets. If you're still working, confirm your still working exception on your current 401k. If you have company stock in your plan, look at NUA with your CPA or your financial planner before rolling any of that over into an IRA. Are you worried about future RMDs? Book a quick 15-minute call with me. We'll run your exact numbers for you and build a model for you. If this helped, hit that like button, drop your favorite strategy in the comments, and share with one friend who's currently taking RMDs this year. Thanks for watching. Plan smart, retire happy, because there is a smarter way to retire. I'll see you next week.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth. The opinions expressed herein are for general information only and is not necessarily the opinions of Osaic Wealth or its representatives. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. It is not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Please consult your financial professional, attorney, or tax advisor with regard to your individual situation.